Welcome to the Resilient Underdog Podcast, where we celebrate the gritty determination and unbreakable spirit of those who overcame adversity and rose to the top. Each episode, we will bring you inspiring stories of individuals who refused to give up despite the odds stacked against them. They faced challenges head-on and emerged victorious, proving that with hard work and a never-say-die attitude, anything is possible. So buckle up. Get ready to be motivated and join us on a journey to unleash your inner resilient underdog.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Resilient Underdog. Today is going to be a very special day. I don't know if you've heard this man's name or not before, but his name is J.C. Almanza. And this man is famous. He's lived so many different lives. And he is a true example of being the resilient underdog, where he adapted, overcame, and won. And now he is winning really, really big in his life. But it's so important for us to just talk to him, hear his story, where he comes from. And it's just going to probably get really raw and really real. So please don't be offended by anything that comes out on this. It's all meant for a purpose and all meant for a power. And I know somebody out there can connect with this. And that's exactly what this show is about, is to inspire other men and women, or even children out there, that either by environmental circumstances, personal choices, or just belief systems that either been instilled in them or that they have somehow adapted themselves, to show you that you are qualified. You can have the life that you want. You can live a rich, fulfilling life, whatever that means to you, whether it's money, power, fame, success, purpose, just fulfillment, or being a best parent ever, right? So, JC, it's such a pleasure to have you today.
Oh, man, thank you. I'm blessed to be here today.
Yeah, it's such an honor. So let's just get right into this. You all right with that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So, JC, let's talk about your past a little bit, right? I've done my homework on you, right? And I was very impressed by your story. But let's go with where your story starts. Where does it start?
I mean, my parents, they came over from Mexico at a very young age. I always say kids having kids, because they got married at 14. They had my sister at that age, and then they had me at 16. So they were kids,
Yeah.
And when my dad ended up in Chicago, when they moved to Chicago for a better life, my dad fell in love with the gangs, the drugs, the women. We're from a small town in Mexico where you really didn't see that kind of stuff
right
back then. So he ended up just abandoning us one day at a hotel, and he left, and we were homeless. We were in a car. I remember bits and pieces. I was very young.
Mm-hmm. How old were you about that time, do you think?
I want to say about 4.
Okay. And was your dad on drugs? What was the story when he abandoned you?
He had already turned into an alcoholic. He was a womanizer. He abused my mom a lot. He cheated. All I remember was bad times when they were together. Fights, stuff like that. All I remember from that day is what color the hotel was. All our stuff was in the car.
Right.
And when my mom decided to go move with her brother, that's when the nightmare started for me.
Okay.
He's the one that started molesting me and raping me and, torturing me. People have heard me talk about it, how he would drown me in the water, in the bathtub, and pull me out. And when we would go to public pools, he would do the same thing, tell me to jump in. It was torture. Completely destroyed my will for anything. I mean, I was such a broken kid. I just wanted love, but it was a lot of abuse by him. So
how did it feel like in those moments, being a young boy, dad's gone, your only male role model is a monster, and the only thing you want is love, but all you're getting is just pure hate and evil? Like, what was going through your heart, if you remember? Because sometimes we might not remember, or we block it out and things like that. Do you kind of remember what that felt like for you?
I just remember that I just wanted to be loved, man. No matter what he did to me, I was always looking for him. Like,
Right.
I wanted that father figure in my life. I
Right.
wanted that male model or whatever you want to call it, that
Right.
superhero. And no matter what he did to me, I was willing to take it like a dog, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Just
like,
desperately seeking love.
just wanted it.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting it from my mom. I wasn't getting it from him. So, that's what led me to the streets.
Okay. And then your street life started, where were you at? So you said you were in Chicago at this time, right?
Actually, we were in California when
Okay.
my dad took off. My family moved to Chicago. Then my dad ran to California because we had family out there.
Okay.
And then my mom chased him to California. I still remember it was a train ride from Chicago to California that lasted like 2 weeks.
Holy.
Yeah, we got on a
That's a
train
wow.
that just took forever.
Slow
to get there.
chain. Yeah.
But we ended up in Sacramento, and it was at the age of 9 when my mom ended up sending me back to my dad in Chicago.
Okay. So you were with your dad when you were in Chicago.
Yeah.
And your mom stayed there in California.
Yeah.
Was she just like gave up the kids and said, you know what, I'm tired of being a mom, or what was that? What happened there?
She beat me really bad that day because my mom was abusing me too. She was not mentally well.
Right.
There was forms of torture that she used on me. One of them was cutting my nails. She would cut them really short, make them bleed all the time. So it was like constant torture whenever I knew that I needed to get my nails cut.
Right.
So it was just abuse. And one day I stood up for myself and I was like, "You're not gonna hit me no more."
Right.
That's it. Like I was 9 years old, but I felt like a grown man.
Right. You've been through
know?
so much so young, right? Like,
You know?
what can the world do to you, right? Like, I'm tough enough to take it.
I
to
tell people
withstand it.
I was 9 years old. I had already been raped. I had already been beat, drowned. I mean, you name it. So like, I told her, "You're not hitting me no more. That's it."
Right.
And I remember she got mad and she was like, "Okay, I'm sending you to your dad's house." I was like, "Yeah, send me to my dad's house." I ended up leaving. I flew to Chicago. My dad lived in one of the most gang-infested areas in Chicago on the south side.
Yeah.
It's called Little Village. Little
Okay.
Villita. It's like Little Mexico.
Okay.
Two of the biggest gangs control that area in Chicago.
What are those gangs?
The Latin Kings and the 2-6.
Okay.
Big Latino gangs. I mean, I'm talking about 300 gang members on each side. It's a
Wow.
big gang area.
Yeah.
And a lot of violence, a lot of murders, a lot of drive-bys. I mean, I tell people by the time I was 14, I had already had a friend killed in front of me every year since the age of 9 all the way down until I went to prison.
So let's just kind of recap all that, right? So you're a little boy. Your family comes here. You're in Chicago. Your dad splits. You and your mom go to California. You're being beaten and you're being tortured. You finally get back to your dad's, desperately seeking love, desperately seeking a positive role model. Ended up in a gangland, basically. And every year from the age of 9 to 14, you're not only being abused, you're also like watching your friends and people that you love get killed in front of you. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Take that, listeners. So, you got your stories, and we all do, but I mean, this is stuff before the age of 14. So maybe you can relate to some of that. JC, I can relate to some of that, right? So I grew up, my dad split, drugs. My mom was mentally ill, physical abuse. She's schizophrenic and manic depressive. Now, I love my mother, but that ultimately ended up, a very unhealthy household and a very broken little boy.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting tortured at the same level that you were, but I remember being bounced off the walls like it's like a WWF match when I was 6 and 7.
Yep.
And anyway, I ultimately ended up in foster care, but you ended up in Chicago. So watching your friends get killed like so young and going through so much torture, like what were you feeling, at that age? At 14, after experiencing all of that so young?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I always tell people I wanted blood. It's the only truth, and it's honest. It's honest as I could be. I wanted to hurt people, like I had been hurt. My heart was completely stone after all those years of abuse. So, I started seeking. I wanted to hurt people. I wanted revenge, and I went to the streets for that. Getting involved with the gangs. I didn't really commit to a gang until I was 16, because I got moved around so much. My family in Chicago really couldn't deal with me, so they would move me around. And in Chicago, I mean, you move to one side, it's another gang. You move to another side, it's another gang. So I had to pretty much be like a chameleon, and I had to fit in with different gangs in every neighborhood. But that's also what helped me survive and
Right.
like what I am today.
What did those experiences and having to be a chameleon and being around all these different gangs and different rules and cultures of the gangs and stuff, how did that help you? What skills did you learn in these environments that were positive that you can now even apply today in your life?
I mean, for one, I'm a survivor, man. I'll figure it out. If you tell me I need this done, and I don't know, I'll figure it out. I just, that's one thing that my hard life has taught me, is that it's not over yet until it's over.
Right. It's resilience and perseverance and ingenuity and just way to get things done. Yeah.
And that's when I always say I'm just super hard headed.
Right.
If you tell me no, it's gonna always be yes for me.
Right.
So it's one thing that I think the street life taught me. And another thing is that, like, I always looked at the brighter things in life.
Right. Had perspective.
Even though I had such a dark life, I always tell people I always had a sense of humor. I always laughed. I always joked. I always looked at things in a different way, because it's what kept me from going crazy. It kept me from hating myself, because I hated everybody else.
Right.
So it taught me a lot of things. And to tell you the truth, man, I wouldn't change nothing that happened to me, even the bad stuff.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because, and you've heard this, people are like, JC, I'm so sorry that all this stuff happened to you. I'm so sorry you went through those things. And I can't believe that you had such a horrible upbringing. People say that to me too, and my story is nowhere near as graphic as your story, right? But I say to their faces, I am not. It's like the greatest thing that ever happened to me in life was being born into a bad environment, because it taught me very, very early in life as a young boy how the world actually works. It also taught me about God and the devil, right? I have this belief that, the God and the devil, they use the same tool. What is that tool, do you think?
The whisper or the heart?
They use people. They use people.
That's normal.
Right? But God uses people to help people.
Yeah.
The devil uses people, probably the closest people to you, to hurt you the worst.
That's a good way to put it, bro.
Right? To enslave you. Now, so, like, people always say, like, I'm sorry you went through that. And I'm like, I am absolutely not, because it taught me how to read people. It taught me that, no matter what the world throws at me, it hit me in the face as hard as it could very, very early in life. So now I know I'm unbreakable. Yeah. The world can't destroy me. If you didn't destroy me, for me, it's like the world did the worst things it could do to me that I experienced before I was 10 years old. And it couldn't break me. So what makes you think, as a grown man, that you're going to break me now? I learned how to control my environment. I learned how to be resilient. The list goes on of positive things that I got from the darkest days of my life, which are gray in comparison to yours, right? Just a little overcast in comparison to yours, right? But, so would you say that you got some of those, these attributes from your pain?
Yeah, I mean, it's without the bitter, there is no sweet.
Right.
There's. I told people, this is why my heart's so big now, because all I knew was hate and take back then.
Right.
And then when I found out how much I could love and how it felt to love and how it felt to like let people love me, it completely changed me.
Right.
I always tell people I used to be the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
Now I'm Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. I've heard you say that before, actually. That's some stuff that I watched of yours. I mean,
I was filled with so much pain, so much hate that like I was constantly. I mean, I was a piece of crap, man. If you looked at me the wrong way, I was trying to shoot you. If your wife caught my eye, I was trying to sleep with her. I was just constantly doing bad.
right.
And I just wanted to hurt people. I wanted to hurt myself. I call it self-suicide.
Right.
You know,
I've heard you say that, yeah.
I didn't want to live, and I didn't care about going to prison for life. I just wanted to prove myself and show people how tough I was.
Right.
You know?
You wanted to be the monster people expect you to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because hey, if I'm a monster, they can't hurt me.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? So let's go. So you're 14, and now you are joining a gang. What gang did you join?
The Satan Disciples.
Satan's Disciple. Is that like still its own independent gang out there?
Mm-hmm.
So there's Satan's Disciples, there's Latin Kings, and what was the other gang?
2-6.
2-6.
I mean, there's hundreds. There's over 100 gangs in Chicago, and when
Wow.
I tell people the
didn't know
culture in Chicago is very different to LA, very different to Texas, and the reason why I like to state that is because when you see movies, they always, put the Mexican guy with the open shirt and the white shirt on the bottom.
Yeah, they do.
Not all Mexicans dress like that.
Right.
That's California. California has their own look, their own thing. That's how they roll. Gangsters, gangbangers in Chicago are different. So the gangs over there are it's very embedded in their culture. It's been in there for a very long time. Chicago's always been bad.
Right.
I mean, gangs have mascots over there, have colors, have war sweaters, party sweaters, prayers. It's just very embedded in the culture. It's almost like natural. Like if you're not in a gang, you're like, what are you doing?
Right.
Who are you with?
Right.
So that's Chicago, man.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize like the gang hierarchies were so regimented on. And, really a well-oiled machine, unfortunately for bad, but of, recruitment and culture and building a team where everybody's sold out to the same mission, right? So what do you think that just kind of growing up in the gang environment, getting on the team, being recruited, like how is that both negatively impacted you, and what did you learn that was positive from those experiences that now you can apply in today's life that you live in a positive way?
I mean, the negative was all the lies. They're not your family.
Right.
They don't have your back. Once you go to jail, trust me, they stop writing, they stop sending money.
You're just a tool.
It's not what they sell you.
Right.
It's not. And
a bed of lies.
It's all lies. And I tell all the kids, it's all lies.
Right. It might look cool, might sound cool, but the truth always shows through.
And you see it. You go to prison and you end up there with guys that are from your same gang. They've been there for 20 years, 30 years. And they tell you the same thing. Guess what? When I got here, everybody forgot about me.
Right.
So I gave up my whole life for that gang that just forgot about you.
Just like that.
Just like
Snap
that.
of a fingers.
Yeah.
Soon as you weren't useful to them.
So I look at that as the good thing and the bad thing that I got to see. I got to see the truth.
Right.
Because I spent years trying to fit in. I spent years trying to find myself. I spent years trying to prove myself.
Right.
And I was doing it for the wrong reasons, the wrong people, and the wrong family.
Yeah. You were trying to prove yourself to an external source.
Yes.
In this instance, your gang, while also not doing anything to validate your own value,
Exactly.
right? Your own worthiness. Is that about right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so you become a gangster, Satan's disciples, 14. Like, what does gang life look like for you? What did you get jumped in? Like, did they give you a task? How did you get into the gang and earn your spot?
I didn't get jumped in. I was actually like grandfathered in because we were the first members of. It wasn't. The gangs in Chicago are like McDonald's. It's the same gang, and they just open up in different areas all over Chicago.
Okay.
So,
wow.
yeah. So the Land Kings from 32nd, Land Kings from 59th, 32nd, 43rd, but they're all Land Kings.
Just franchised.
Just franchised.
Okay.
So we were the first ones to open up 59th and Spalding. So St. Disciples is a really big gang in Chicago also.
Okay.
So we were the first ones to open up 59 and Spalding, and there's about 10 of us. And we caused havoc that year. That summer, everybody found out who 59 was because there was 10 of us that were really broken. I'm still friends with them to this day. Some of them have turned their life over to God now, and
Right.
we have our little weekly Bible study that I think is pretty cool because these are all a bunch of guys that I did dirt with on the street, and
Right.
and now we're just loving God, you know.
Hey,
So,
one thing you got to remember, right? Let's talk about Jesus for a minute. He didn't walk with the people on high, right? He walked with the downtrodden,
Yeah.
the broken,
yeah.
the sinners, right? So, did these guys that you get together with now that are gangbangers or former gangbangers that have turned their life over to Jesus, did you bring them to Jesus?
I can't say I did it because I don't do nothing. It's God doing everything. So
But
like,
you're the vessel that he uses, right?
when I went to share my testimony, I went a year ago. I went to Aurora, and it's a very highly gang populated suburb in Chicago. I went to go share my testimony, and a lot of my guys came. 21 guys turned their life over to God that day. Gang members.
21 guys. Hold on. Let's just pause on that. Viewers and listeners, I want you to focus on that. This man goes back to Chicago, right? And in that day that you were there, one day, a 24-hour period, your testimony, your story, they know your history on top of that. And God gave him the privilege of turning 21 lives over to Jesus and God, and to be of service and the righteous life. So just put that into perspective, right? So for you, the listener, who might feel like God doesn't love you, you're not worthy of God's love. You've done too much dirt. You've experienced too many things. You feel like you might have too much hate to even be qualified to walk that walk with him. Well, here's a man that we're going to get into it some more, but has so much pain, so much dirt, sinner's life to the max, been saved, and in one day converted 21 lives. That's amazing, JC. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. And so to the listeners, you're qualified for God's love. All you got to do is ask for it, right? Is that it?
I've been watching America's Got Talent these past couple of days. I've been stuck on that show, and Simon always says, these next 2 minutes are going to change your life. Ooh. Well, I tell them God only needs a second.
Ooh.
Because when I got on my knees, it's still emotional for me because
you can share it, man. We want that. We welcome it.
I had so much pain. I had so much hurt from being raped, from being just so much. I wondered, how can a little kid suffer so much, and then how can I start trying to take life and people trying to take my life, and it was just a constant just crazy. And to have all that pain, all that for years, and then in 1 second, for God to remove that from my heart, after that day, I didn't have no more questions. I know that He's real. I know that I wasn't a mistake. I know that I have a purpose, and it brings tears to my eyes every day, because for Him to be able to take somebody like me and use me, I mean, I'm grateful, and I'm in it till the wheels fall off.
Right. And that's so true, man. Is everybody out here that walks this earth wakes up today a sinner, broken, hurt, or maybe not. Maybe just lost. Maybe not knowing what you're here for. But one thing that is universally true, whether or not you live in the mansion on the hill or in the slums and in the gutter, in the streets, you have a purpose.
Yes.
You have a calling in your heart. Can I want to add something to purpose, because this is like my story of purpose. Okay. So, and I think that it'll connect with a lot of people. So you mind if I share that for a minute?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I woke up, like I came from, my own struggles, but, I was living a pretty good life at the time that I found my purpose. I was, right around 30, 31, my whole life. I just had this restless energy inside me. And the closest emotion that I can explain it as, even though it wasn't, but will give you a context of like what I felt, was anger. But I wasn't angry. I was angry. I was happy. I lived a good life. I'd come so far from where I was. And, I was literally asking God, like, I'm not getting any younger here. I'm about to turn 30, 31, whatever age it was. This is in my early 30s. Like, if you want me to feel whatever the purpose is you have for me, like, you got to tell me, man. Like,
that's the thing, though. He doesn't tell you.
I know. I'm like, could you just give me the answer? But, he actually, what is really good is he lets you discover it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But there's only one way to discover it. And so the way to discover it, at least through my experiences, and you can maybe testify to this and maybe not, or maybe somebody else can connect with this and maybe you can't, but I'm just telling you my story and hopefully it resonates. Right. So, when I woke up and I, for the first time in my life, I just opened myself up 100% vulnerable, because I had vulnerability issues, right? The person who's supposed to love me the most in my life, my mother, hurt me the worst. Not because she's an evil person, because she was fighting demons of her own, right? My dad took off. The man that was supposed to raise me and be my example of a man, he took off. He didn't raise me. He was never in my life. So I had a real hard time being vulnerable and letting my heart out and not really trying to control some aspect of it. For the first time in my life, I'm praying this prayer, like, please, God, show me my purpose. And by the way, it's nothing that I ever thought I was going to be. That's the first thing. Whatever you preconceived notion that you, the listeners, or anybody that's hearing this might have to, want to be, wish it could be, think is cool, and all that stuff, like, forget all that. That's probably not your purpose, right? That's just your ego wanting it to be something that it's probably not. So what I discovered is once I opened that up, it got placed in my heart, and it got validated because what I used to do is I used to throw house parties, and I would charge people $5 at the gate, drink till you drop, have a great time, right? And I'd give the money to charity. But in that moment, I was like, well, it's my birthday coming up, right? So I wasn't going to have a party at my house. I was, my buddy owned a bar, so I was going to do it there. He just opened his bar. And I said, well, I want to do a charity event. And at that point in time, I decided it was going to be Wounded Warriors Foundation. And so I went down there, and I talked to the director of the entire West Coast. And they declined my offer to do it. And, number one, there's a fee you got to pay. Number two, they got to deem you qualified or whatever, which I get. They don't want you to abuse their brand.
Yeah.
but the bureaucracy of working with a big organization like that, right? So I was over at my friend's house, who actually lives here in Arizona now. I still live in Washington State, but about it. And they're like, Eagle, why don't you just start your own charity? I said, hey, man, I don't know what kind of time you think I got, because at that time I was a union iron worker. I was working 80 hours a week. I was working out of town. I'd come home to wash my laundry and be gone again, right? And all of a sudden, the name of my charity, still to this day, Live for Purpose, popped into my head. And I'm just like, we're taking that name if it's available. So we did, and for the first time in my life, the next day when I woke up, I experienced peace, calmness, and that's when I knew that was a path.
Yeah.
That was the path. And then I ended up serving homeless, which I never thought was never on my radar of things I was going to do, right? So, just like you said, God only needs 1 second, right? Just like that, right? Just like that. He created a disciple. And JC, the sinner, the gangbanger, the monster. How does that feel?
Man, I tell people I didn't even want this job, man.
Right.
I didn't want this job. I never even thought I would qualify for this job. But if you would have asked me 2 years ago that I was going to be going to school to be a pastor, I would have laughed in your face.
Right.
Honestly, I'm going to be honest.
Right.
Why? Because my mouth was in the gutter. My mind was in the gutter.
Right.
Was I trying to be a good person? Yeah. I was trying to be a decent man.
Right.
As long as I wasn't killing nobody or trying to kill somebody or trying to sell drugs that's what I was like, okay, so I'm a good man then. But I didn't even know what morals were. I didn't even know. People don't believe me when I say this, but I tell people I had to start from scratch because I didn't know how to be a good person.
Right.
I didn't.
Right.
I didn't know what it was to not lie. I lied every day about everything.
Right.
I didn't know what it was to be faithful. I cheated in everything. Even when we played spades, I would try to cheat. I mean, there was no morals, no ethic in my life at all.
Hey, all you amazing listeners of the Resilient Underdog. This is Eagle Star, the host of the show. Sorry to interrupt this amazing episode, but I wanted to just come to you real quick and encourage you to share this episode, follow our pages, hit that follow button on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Find our audio versions on Spotify and Apple. The Resilient Underdog. So if you're enjoying this episode and you know someone that could benefit from it, please share it with them. Help us build our audience. Help us build our community to celebrate the gritty determination of the resilient underdogs that adapted, overcame, and won no matter what. Without further ado, let's get back to the show, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. Until next time, this is Eagle Star. Bye.
And for me to be able to experience that has really, I feel like a grown-up.
Right. Finally living, right? Finally.
Yeah. Finally, like, pay my bills. Like, I was telling someone the other day, I got my bank account for the first time. I did a lot of stuff. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now that I wanted to savor.
Right.
And opening up my bank account was one of them.
Right.
I never had one.
How long ago did you do that?
About a year ago.
How old are you now?
47.
47. Okay. So, I mean, let's put that in perspective, for the audience. It's like, here's all the stuff that most people were doing when they got their first job, or even when they were little and their parents were teaching them about money. Here's a man that served, for lack of a better way to say it, the devil his whole life, and had never done any of the quote unquote things that are part of our development process to grow up to be responsible, good, contributing members to society and to our communities, to our families. The man is, 47 now, and he just opened a bank account a year ago, you said, right?
Yeah. One thing I want to do a lot, I want to go to prom.
You do?
Yeah. I want to prom. I don't know why.
What makes you want to go to prom?
You're gonna make me cry again.
Like, let's, hey, we're getting raw and we're real. We already warned them.
Because there's a lot of things, man, that I wish I could have done like normal people, like going to high school, graduating, having friends from childhood that are still alive or not in prison.
Right. You missed out on so much life and experiences that would make you happy.
I just never got to be a kid.
You never got to be a kid, yeah.
And it makes me sad sometimes. I cry about it, I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, now that, God is changing my life so much, I leave next week to Ohio, and I'm going to be at a campground with 125 kids from urban areas in Ohio. I'm spending the whole week with them. And I try to get out of it so much, bro, because, like, I felt like I wasn't ready. Right. And I prayed about it, and I fell to my knees. I started crying, and then in my heart, I was like, there's 125 little JCs.
Oh, man,
and
that's powerful. Destined for the same path unless JC growing up shows up. The new JC shows up.
So it's going to be a really awesome week, man. And like I tell people, like, if I wouldn't have been through what I've been through, I wouldn't be able to do this awesome stuff with these kids or with these men. And I mean, I love it, man. It makes me cry every day.
Man, that's so powerful. Let's paint the picture on that. So you got, JC growing up, tortured, abused, anger, hate, gang life. Normal life to him was, pulling the trigger at somebody, right? Like whether you hit him or not, I don't know. But I don't know what kind of aim he's got. But either way, it was rooted in pain and anger and inflicting everything negative that he felt and experienced on other people, right? And now he's saved, right? And God gave him the power and the voice and the story and the pain and all this stuff to help prepare him to not only save 21 hard gangsters from the streets and convert them to a better life, a better existence. Now JC has the opportunity to, which he's being placed purposefully. So that's how I know JC's walking in his purpose. He's being placed into a camp with 125, in his words, little JCs. People that are, young children that have experienced pain that most people can't even fathom going through, experiences, abuse, whatever it is. And he has the opportunity to save young lives. What a powerful statement. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, I still can't believe it to this day, what he's doing in my life, man. That's why I'm so grateful. I get up every day and I cry, man. I cry every day, and I put it up on my videos. I always tell people I'm not embarrassed because I spent so many years trying to be tough. So many years trying to be like this hardcore gangster, and I love what I feel now. I love to feel love now. I love hugging people, and the best part is when the reaction I get when they see this big tatted up Mexican, and I tell them I love them and I hug them, and they're like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, that doesn't fit the picture. It doesn't fit the picture at all. And that's one of the things that. One of my beefs with society is that we're so quick to judge, right, based on appearances. But, heart does not have a common outfit, right? As a matter of fact, like in my lifetime, the best people I ever came across were the people that had been through the worst things. They're the ones that will literally give their shirt off their back. Yeah. And the people that look like they should, or, go do the things that, they say are Christ-like, they go to church, they go do whatever. In my experience, I've seen a lot of snakes hiding behind the cross. You know what I'm saying?
It's true, man, but it's like I tell people, You know, because I hear it a lot. They're like, I went to this church, but I didn't like how they treated me, and I went to this other one, and I was like, look, if you're looking for a perfect church, you ain't gonna find it,
Right?
Because everybody's broken, everybody,
Right.
and you're not going to the church because it's
Right.
fancy. You're going there to listen to what God is saying.
The message,
Yes.
the message in the church.
The
The people have
message.
nothing to do with it.
People have nothing to do with it.
Right.
And that's our problem, is that we're too focused on what everybody else is thinking about us that we don't realize that it doesn't matter what people or what this world think about us. It's what he thinks of us.
Right.
It's what are we doing to like love him back as much as he loves us.
Right.
And that's why like my mission is so, like, people would tell me all the time, you're not making money, JC? And I'm like, no, I self-fund myself. Oh man, you're missing out on this, you're missing out. And I'm like, look, I worked for the cartel. I had $1 million in my closet at one point.
Right.
My heart was empty, dark. There was nothing there.
Right. But a bunch of money.
Nothing.
Right.
I am more happy today than I've ever been in my whole life because I have peace. I have joy. And I know how to enjoy a moment now.
Right. And that's worth more than any amount of money.
You couldn't pay me $2 million to go back to that life.
Right.
Because I enjoy sitting down and reading a book and enjoying a moment with God now that it's priceless to me.
Right. Right. You have love. You have peace. Right. So let's go back a little bit and keep painting the picture on your life, because I want people to hear this story. So you're in a gang, full of hate and anger, broken, abused, and that's your family. On what is perceived trust and loyalty, only when you're useful.
Yeah.
I have a saying, and I have this saying on loyalty I want to share with you. And I made this quote up, because I spent God gives me downloads, So I was going through a situation with a friend that I've forgiven now. And, so I'm like, okay, so I got to reevaluate loyalty. Because the understanding that most of us have is loyalty is for life once you get it, right?
Yeah.
That's the general understanding of the everyday people, right? So
Street people, sorry.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I'm not a street person, man, but like that's my understanding of it. Is like once you get it, it's there for life, no matter what. Well, so that made me reevaluate my understanding of loyalty, the situation that I had, and so I came up with this quote: "My loyalty is tried and true, through and through, unwavering, unless you do something directly to me that proves my loyalty is unfit for you." Because your loyalty is one of the most powerful things that you can share with another person. Right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because yesterday I was just speaking about a friend of mine. I'm not going to say no names.
Yeah.
But, I've been trying to call him for about a year now.
Okay.
He never picks up my calls.
Okay.
And I said to myself the other day, I called him and I was like, why do I keep calling a person that doesn't want to speak to me?
Right.
Why do I keep doing it? He
Right.
doesn't deserve my loyalty.
Right.
And it goes both ways. And this is for everybody that's listening. A friendship is a friendship only if you make it a friendship.
Right.
You need to take the time to call that person if that person doesn't call you.
Right.
You need to set the standard. Don't use the, hey, we might not talk every day, but we're still home. Nah, don't use the back door.
Right.
Check on your friends. Call them. If they mean something to you, then you should be in communication with them.
This is hitting home for me right now, JC. Thank you for sharing that, because I know so many people, and I have so many great people in my life, but I don't call them enough. I don't text them enough. I don't check on them enough. I was saying the exact same thing you just said, is like, hey, and I actually just had this conversation with my friend yesterday. It's like, this is my exact words were like, I know we don't see each other often. I know we don't talk often, but you're in my life forever.
Yeah.
I'm loyal to you. regardless of any of that. And, it's like, we pick up like we never left, right?
But I always tell people,
But be
where's
intentional.
the cheap, though? Where's the cheap? You need to show it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, wow, that just really hit home. Like, that was for me, to hear, and I'm sure that's for other people that are listening to hear. And that really is like challenging my perspective on friendship and loyalty and family and, valuing people. Value is not in silence.
It's not. And, I'm going to put Peter on blast real quick, but, I text him a lot. Hey, I love you. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it takes him all day to get back to me, but he gets back to me.
Right.
There's people that just don't text you back. And you'll see quotes all over the place. They see your text. They're just not texting you back because they don't want to.
Right.
So you really have to ask yourself, who are you surrounding yourself with?
Right.
And I get it. My friends are busy. Everybody's doing something. I'll be more afraid of a friend that's always answering because he's probably at home getting high or something.
Yeah.
But we're all busy, but you still need to take the time to water the grass where you stand.
Yeah.
Because that's why, you hear that saying that the grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence. Well, that's because you're not taking care of your own grass.
Right.
You're too busy looking at everybody else's grass.
Right.
So, take the time to call your friends, see how they're doing. It doesn't matter if they're busy. Leave them a message. You have to be the leader.
Yeah.
If they're sheep, guess what? They need a shepherd. And that's just the way there is. There's some that are leaders. There's some that are followers.
Yeah.
That's why in prison you can't put a warrior as a leader because he'll make all of us go to the hole.
Right.
You have to put somebody in charge that has a
calm,
mind.
collected.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So let's fast track a little bit. So you get in this gang, and I know a little bit about your backstory, and I know you had your first prison stint. How old are you when you went to prison?
Man, I started going to prison at 14. I started having overnights.
Okay.
In Chicago, a lot of people don't know this, but you get arrested if there's more than 4 people in a group.
Okay.
It's called mob action.
Really?
Yeah.
So just like 4 buddies hanging out, causing a little bit of mischief.
Yeah.
That's quote unquote mob
Action.
That's crazy.
So the cops come in, they pick you up, take you to the police station, you spend 24 hours.
Okay. So really nothing.
No, but that's what gets you ready for.
Okay.
You get
Prepping
used to
you.
it. It starts prepping.
It's like your
you.
internship for prison.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's your
So they're
GED.
just creating the monster, right? They're feeding the monster. Okay.
And then it gets easier and easier. And then one day you get locked up on Friday. Guess what? You're not getting out till Monday because it's the weekend.
Right.
So now you're into 3 days.
Right.
And that's what I tell people is as a criminal, you start graduating to more stuff. That's why a lot of people will say, oh, I would have never thought he would have killed somebody. Well, guess what? He got to that point.
Yeah.
Not just like that.
Yeah. Started by stealing a candy bar.
Exactly. It starts growing. And I always tell people, whatever wolf you feed, that's the wolf that's going to grow.
So the good wolf or the bad wolf, right?
Yep.
That's powerful. I hope you heard that, people. Whatever wolf you feed is the wolf that grows. So you can feed the good wolf, or you can feed the bad wolf, or you can starve them all, and then you die.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So you go into prison. I know this. You go into the Mexican prison at age 17.
Yeah.
First thing that happens is you get stabbed. What did that do for you, both positively and negatively?
Honestly, it set the tone up where I knew how much of a monster I had to be while I was there.
Right. So you adapted.
I adapted quick, fast.
You overcame and you rose to the top, right?
Yeah. And, I always tell people I was lucky that I was young and I was in my prime of violence.
Yeah.
In my prime.
Pure hate, pure
Pure hate.
darkness. No emotions, no compassion.
Nothing.
Just whatever you got to be.
Whatever I had to be that day, whatever monster I had to be that day,
Yeah.
that's what I was.
Yeah.
And it started getting to me to the point where, I had a really hard time looking at myself in the mirror. It was starting to change me. I tell people...
Take you to a new level of darkness. Yeah, new level of, yeah.
Yeah, when you're out there shooting people, even a coward can shoot a gun. He's scared, he'll pull the trigger. But when you have to go up to somebody and stab them, like it's up and personal, it's close, it's a whole different other monster.
Right.
And for me to survive in that Mexican prison, it was, for one, I was looked at as a traitor because I was American. So I had to constantly prove myself.
Right.
I had a best friend there that was with me to this day. He's still my best friend. His name's Ricardo. He knew how to fight. So he always had my back. And if it wasn't for him, I would have probably got killed over there.
Yeah.
He had my back 100%.
Yeah.
It wasn't until he left that it got really bad for me.
Yeah. And that's why he still has your loyalty to this day.
Yeah.
He was there.
I flew out to Houston 2 months ago to go see him.
Awesome.
Because I love that dude.
Yeah. You owe him your life, really.
Yeah. He's the brother that I never had.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Does he walk in life with you in Christ now?
No, but he sees it. He's really proud of me. He would have never in a million years stopped. But, I know that this is the way it works. It's not about being a Bible scholar. It's not about none of those things. Honestly, at the end of the day, is how you carry yourself is what people see.
Right.
How you treat them is what people see.
How you make them feel.
How you make them feel. How you talk to them. Everything. That's how you impact people.
Yeah. True.
And back in the day, my thinking was, I'm gonna be the loudest one in the room. I'm gonna be the one popping bottles. I'm gonna be the one, talking crap, the loudest, the most girls. Right. And it was completely opposite of everything that I knew was wrong. Right. It was wrong.
Well, your definition of what you just gave is, to me, society's perpetuated definition of the alpha male, right? But it's not the alpha male. No. So I always use this example, and this is for you, this is for me, this is for the listeners, right? So I like to ask this question of, in the animal kingdom, what's generally considered the most alpha animal? What would you say that was?
I would say the gorilla. A lot of people would say the lion.
A lot of people would say the lion, right? And every now and then I get some answers that make me go, I wonder why. Okay. So general answer is the lion. And I say, okay, well, when is the lion most respected and most revered? When he is roaring and showing his power, or when he's standing strongly and silently in his own presence? When he's the most magnetic? When is he the most charismatic? When is he the most captivating? What would you say?
Well, there's an emoji that I'm in love with that I've seen way back in the day when I first got out of prison. That's a lion standing up, and you can't see nothing until you turn the picture and you see all the knives in the back.
Right.
But the lion is standing firm with his head up and his chest out.
Right.
And it just shows the resilience, the power.
Right.
Just, it shows, I take it in as how resilient a human being can be.
Right.
No matter what, how many times you've been stabbed or broken, no matter what. You see the Cinderella stories everywhere.
Right. So I always make this debate of, the alpha is the one that walks in the environment and changes the environment with their presence, with their energy. They're not, trying to assert their dominance to gain it. And that's when they gain respect, admiration, love, right? That's the alpha.
It's funny because one of my most viewed videos is a video where I started to cry because I was going to fly to Hawaii to go share my testimony.
Right.
I'm terrified of flying, first of all. I'm terrified of water.
Okay.
Me flying over the water was terrifying on its own.
Right.
So that morning, I was crying. I was a mess. I recorded myself. I tried to do everything to miss that flight. God still put me on that flight.
Right.
And when I got to Hawaii and I seen how beautiful that world was,
right.
I jumped in the water. for the first time.
Really? And you can't swim.
No.
Right.
But I jumped in, and it was such a beautiful experience, man, that I realized that was a true gangster, somebody that's willing to feel that brokenness, the love.
Right.
I don't even know how to explain it. Like, that's a true gangster right there.
Right. That faces everything.
Yeah.
And openly.
Openly. Like, not,
Right.
there's no such thing as you're an alpha, you shouldn't cry. No, I think you should cry even more.
100%.
Like, you should feel the pain of other people because, like, that's what makes you a real man.
Right. You're confident and you know, you're not rooted in any kind of insecurity or perception of what a man should be, an alpha should be, a gangster should be. It's like you're rooted in the way God created you, and there's no greater alpha than God, right? So, because he leads. And
I tell people I spent my whole life trying to be who I thought I needed to be, when in our reality, it's who God had intended me to be.
Right.
And that's when I found my purpose.
All right. Here's a question. You think God is brave?
Oh, man, I look at Jesus' story and I'm like, man, he knew they were going to crucify him. He knew they were going to, it's like you, man. You know you're going to get 20 years and they let you go home. Are you really going to go turn yourself in tomorrow?
Right.
Be honest.
Yeah. Me?
I wouldn't. I'd probably run.
I'd have a real tough time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, he knew he was going to get tortured, murdered, all these things, and he still, like, rose up, carried his cross, and went. And I look at that. You know, I used to have all these superheroes in my head when I was a kid. Superman, Batman, all these things. Now it's like John, Matthew. It's all the disciples that, because I'm like, man, these were men that really got tested in times that, like, come on, bro, nobody gets stoned to death nowadays.
Right.
But they were in such times where faith, resilience, everything was so, I want to say, new.
Right.
You know,
yeah. Unfavorable.
Yeah.
At best.
And they stood there and they got their heads chopped off. They got, all kinds of stuff for what they believed in.
Right.
Tell me that's not tough.
That's tough. Right. Now here's a follow-up question. Do you think the devil is brave and courageous or a coward?
Now, you have to be careful with that.
Okay.
Because I always tell people he got sent down here for a reason. You know what I mean? Obviously he's a lot smarter than we are.
True.
That's why he gets us in trouble so much.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing us he doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And that's the problem that a lot of people are like, I'm not saying be afraid of him, but I'm saying there has to be a line of respect somewhere.
Right.
Where you have to be like, okay, I'm on this side, you know, and that's what it is. But I still know that you're there.
Right.
You know,
I can respect and know that you're there, but I don't have to follow you.
Exactly. And that's the thing is that people say, oh, there is no such thing as bad and good and blah, blah. And I'm like, really? Right. Because I stood next to the enemy. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things that I'll never be able to talk about that I seen in Mexico, you know, working with those people and stuff like that. But the devil is real.
Right.
The enemy is real. There's really bad people out there that do really bad stuff.
Now, do you think there's bad people or broken people or both?
There's both. You know, there's times in prison where I sat down and I talked to dudes and I'm like, yep, that dude needs to stay here.
Right.
He still needs a lot of work. And I'm not saying it's not possible. Yeah, there's a lot of broken people that God can fix anybody. Anybody.
Well, here's one more question beyond that. We're going to get a little deep on this, okay? So, like, for the viewers out there, they might be kind of having the question of, like, who's around them, if they're good or they're bad or they're broken. How can you distinguish, and through your life experience, because it's vast, of all different types of people, right? How can you tell a broken person versus a bad person. So to me, the definition of a broken person is someone that's been through a lot and might be broken and lost and all kinds of stuff, but still has a heart, right? And that you can feel love in, right? They have a heartbeat, just a faint one maybe, of love in their heart. But the bad person and the broken person can look very similar. How do you distinguish the difference? How would you say through your life experiences?
Honestly, there's no difference.
Really?
To tell you the truth, because I was both.
Okay.
And there's just people that have been through more.
Right.
And there's people that it takes a lot less for them to become more broken. And there's people that could take a lot more, like us.
Okay.
We took a lot more than normal people, I guess you
Yeah.
could say. Other people have been through stuff. But everybody is... I've seen killers completely change their lives.
Right.
I've seen child molesters. I've seen that's why I tell people prison, as much as it was a curse for me, it was a blessing for me because it saved my life. It taught me so many lessons about life, I guess you could say.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it taught me everything I needed because when I came home, I came home educated. I knew how to read books and I taught philosophy and all this crap, but I didn't have life experiences.
Right.
I didn't have a bank card.
Right.
I didn't know how to pay my child support. I didn't know how to deal with a breakup.
Right.
So I didn't have life experiences. So man, it's a tough question to answer just because there's so many moving parts in that question.
Right. Yeah, it's a loaded question. That's why. Hey, we might have to pick up that question some more later, but we can talk about more of that just as we get to know each other.
Yeah.
Because
we're both broken, bro.
as far as I'm concerned, brother, you are a brother.
Oh, thank you, bro.
I don't know if you ever had one, but you got one now.
Thank you, bro.
Right, and I know you got Peter out here, and God's putting this incredible circle around you,
Man.
but He's also putting it around me right now.
Thank you,
with
man.
you. So I know we got plenty more to talk about, but we might have to do an episode 2, right? So, but let's, for all the viewers and the listeners, and we just kind of scratched on the surface, but we got into some real deep stuff that I think really matters that was actually, I think, more important to discuss today, right? So, I think it's just being directed. Now, if you could leave everybody out there that's listening to this, or watching this, any kind of, scripture to hold on to when life's tough and when it's rough and they don't feel like they're worthy or, they feel like they got too much sin on their hands and, they feel like they don't know how to love or can't love or aren't worthy of love. What would be a scripture that you would say to lean on?
Honestly, I've probably everybody's always heard this one. Even though I walk through the valley of death, I would fear no evil. It's been one of my biggest just scriptures that I've really leaned on just because when I got transferred to that Florida prison where I prayed for the whole bus ride there to not be my gang to not be present in that prison. As soon as I got there was 63 guys there.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a test.
Did
you join the gang?
Well, it was all, it was all the Latin Kings, but that's a testimony itself because when I got there, it was going to be bad because I didn't want to sit with them. And God made his magic happen and they ended up getting all escorted out of there. They were under investigation. A big case happened when I got there.
Okay.
So, one day I was at work. Some guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey, they're taking all your guys." And I ran up to the window, and they were taking them all out. And I was like, "Man, you have a sense of humor."
Yeah.
It's crazy, but those 2 years set the platform up for me to be able to go to education and just start changing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Start wanting to do better.
Right, evolving.
Yeah.
Becoming who you were supposed to be, not the JC that the world has seen.
Exactly.
But the JC the world gets to experience now that's evolving and walking in his purpose, right? Where can they find you? We got to let them know about you. So what's your social handles, like where your show's at, everything like that? Where can they reach out to you or find you?
I mean, honestly, if you just Google wrong too strong, wrong, WRONG,
Yeah.
too strong, you'll see, I mean, everything pops up. God has been good. You know, he's blessed me with a good Google Motor search engine.
Hey, that's powerful in today's world, man. I could probably learn a thing from you too on that. Maybe I should help out, recruit God to help me out with that, right? So,
Yeah, man.
well, hey, man, I know you got things to do, but it's been such an honor speaking with you and hearing your testimony and and your story of pain and triumph and I mean it when I say, man, you are the epitome of the resilient underdog. You adapted to whatever your environment was. You overcame your environmental circumstances to put yourself in a position where you were in control of your environment, good or bad, and then you are winning, right? You've won in the end, and you continue to win. And I'm so happy to meet you today, and you should be very proud of the man that you are sitting in front of me.
Oh, thank you, man.
And you are a true testament of God's will and God's power. And I know that He's a proud father looking down on you right now.
Thank you.
So, thank you for your time and your story today, man. It's been an honest, true pleasure. And it doesn't end here for us. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like, we're going to be brothers in life. And I'm going to talk to you a little more about that camp out there and with those kids because that's near to my heart, right? So that's all I got. All right, everybody. Man, what a great episode. So if you got something out of this, it resonated with you, definitely don't be afraid to let us know what you got out of this. Reach out to JC, reach out to me, give us all likes and follows and do all that stuff because the only way that we can continue to do what our mission is here with the Resilient Underdog is to have you, the Resilient Underdogs, sharing this, liking this, reaching out, and if someone pops into your head, just share it with them. We don't want anything in exchange. Just share it with them so we can continue to reach more people that need to hear these messages. All right, guys, have a great day. Stay resilient.
Sir.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Refused to give up despite the odds stacked against them. Resilient Underdog Podcast.
Hey guys, this is Eagle Star, the host of the Resilient Underdog, and as we get ready to wrap up another inspiring episode of Resilience, we want to invite you to take action right now. If you haven't already, hit that follow button on our YouTube so you can catch every upcoming episode and dive deeper into these stories of resilience. Don't miss out. Download the episodes and carry the motivation with you wherever you go. I want to also encourage you to share this with your friends, your family, your colleagues, even strangers that you come across that could benefit from the content that we create. Let's stay connected also. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss a beat. Join our community on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok where we share behind-the-scenes footage, sneak peeks, random thoughts, and where you can engage with us directly, myself and the guests. Remember this, folks. The path to success is often paved with challenges, but together we can overcome anything. So take action now. Follow, download, share, and connect. And until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, adapt, overcome, and win, and keep embracing that underdog spirit. Have a great day, guys. It's Eagle Star. See you on the next episode. Bye.